And for the family mom, like, how am I supposed to tell people my daughter grows weed?
Welcome to Work in Progress, a podcast about the work we do and why we do it. I'm here with Ashley MacIvor. Ashley has over 15 years in the Canadian cannabis industry with experience in purchasing, sales, marketing, and operations. Over the last decade, Ashley has utilized her knowledge and leadership to develop some teams of top class industry professionals and enabled her to establish a global cannabis network. In 2012, Ash started her own cannabis consulting company focusing on education, recruitment, and development, excelling in customer service, embracing innovation, and providing some of the highest quality standards are some of Ashley's cornerstones in her work. Working in cannabis is more than a career for Ash, but her service to the future health of the world. Welcome, Ashley MacIvor. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me on, Carly.
My pleasure. Would you prefer if I called you Ash or Ashley?
Yeah, you could call me Ash.
Okay, excellent. Will do. So I have a few questions for you. One of them would be, what is it exactly that you do?
Well, I do a variety of things. It's never the same thing every day, but
Mhm.
generally, I run a cannabis consulting company. So we help producers and retailers kind of solve their complex issues with the industry and emerging into the cannabis industry. That could include operations, helping streamline operations, education programs, as well as sales programs.
Excellent. So you help startups in cannabis then in all sorts of different facets?
Yes, startups, and also people who've been in the industry a while who want to move over from kind of the older system we had and integrate into the new system.
Oh, exciting. That's great. So how did you discover that this was something that you could get paid for? How did you discover that this was a job?
Well, it kind of found me in a way. I never really could have expected to go on this journey. Actually used to be a nurse, and I got in a really severe car accident and I couldn't quite go back to nursing. And then I started actually working in a clinic doing cannabis nursing for patients who are in really severe medical need of its services. So, veterans, with cancer, with addiction issues, even veterinarians and their animals. Actually, so I started cannabis nursing, and I realized that I wanted to be part of the growth of the industry itself and not just patient per patient basis. So I actually went into cannabis production, and I realized that um, cannabis grow ops and people were just like patients, and that they needed help developing and streamlining in this new industry we have.
Wow. What was the decision like to move from nursing into an entrepreneurial endeavor?
I think I wanted to be able to be on the side of promoting health um, versus being at the end of the line, trying to treat people. And I needed to switch up myself. I needed, um, I'm a very creative person. I like to be creative every day, something that nursing quite isn't. So becoming an entrepreneur really allowed me to thrive creatively.
Excellent. So, what are some of the qualities that would make a person really great for working in the cannabis industry?
I think you're great to work in the cannabis industry if you like a job that's always changing, always exciting. You're always learning every day with the industry and about the plant and the effects themselves, meeting tons of new people all the time, especially that it really caters to anyone with a variety of schedules, whether it's on call, part time, full time, or contract. As an independent worker, there are tons of options to get involved, and as well as there is great opportunities for if you like working with the plants or if you like working in sales or leading teams, whatever your strength or whatever your desire to learn is, there's definitely going to be a place for you.
Oh, so it's not just seasonal, even though it's an agricultural product.
Yeah, so cannabis is grown indoors all year round. Unlike
Okay.
traditional agriculture, there are outdoor grows as well. They could choose as well. Would you like working in an indoor environment or do you like working outside on a farm environment? And both have those benefits and challenges and exciting new things to learn as well.
Wow. Interesting. And so, my next question, judging by the way you answered that one, might be really difficult, but it's hard to think of what a typical day is like. But if you can you describe the most typical day possible on the job for you?
Cool. I think a typical day. A typical day is gonna have a variety of jobs probably mixed in it.
Mhm.
But you go onto the site wherever you're going, and you kind of get a rundown of what's happening with the plants in their current state. Kind of like a patient in the hospital. You're like, okay, how are they doing? What's the status? Every day the plants change. So you get an update on that. And either you do plant care or prevention. So it would be things such as removing some of the leaves, putting up supported netting, or just even simple things like cleaning and sanitizing some of the rooms to, to restock with some of the plant. Uh, Another typical day could be you're harvesting the plants. You go in as a team, chop down the plant, and get them ready to um, either go and be dried or packaged for finals. It could include packaging or making pre-rolled joints or blunts. It could include making edibles for people to enjoy, or it could include as much as making a few sales calls. Depends on where you are in that. But at the end of the day, it's definitely something you feel accomplished doing. And if you have a great team, it makes that day even better.
Yeah, I can imagine. So super varied, super varied.
Very much so.
So,
Every single
mhm.
operation has its own needs and kind of different tasks going on. So that's a very exciting thing about the industry as well.
So it's almost like you're still making the rounds as a nurse, but
That's
different.
exactly correct. Yeah.
So one of the questions I'd have to ask you is, what's one of the worst experiences you've had on the job? We're going to contrast it with a good one, but what's one of the worst experiences that you've had working in this role?
I think that's a really tough thing it's a really tough thing because it's really not that it doesn't get as worse where it's ever out of control or something that can't be fixed. For me, I think one of the worst things back in the day was a lot of the grow operation would be in the middle of the mountain. So you'd have to drive through winter blizzards to get up to work. And just working in really, really remote location because before before mainstream legalization, when a lot of people had their medical grows under the ACMPR licenses, you couldn't really have a cannabis operation in the city for a bunch of different reasons. But so they were usually out in the middle of the bush somewhere. I think the hardest part about any job at that point was just trying to get there because plants grow all year round and we live in the mountains here in British Columbia. So I think if you could get there and just get to work, it doesn't really get too complicated if you know what you're gonna be doing that day.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be really, really stressful driving in winter conditions like that. And Also, was it stressful during that time when, because marijuana's made this really interesting transition in our time, coming from something that was illicit to then people having medical license, and then now to the point where it's legalized and sold in stores. Did that make things difficult for you as well when you were in that in between phase?
Well, that's a big essential reason why I started my consulting company, because I went from a point of going to people's farms to going to big corporate operation, and I saw the regulations come to be, and I just wanted to help make sure that during the transition from the illicit market or even just the medical market where people were going for themselves to the corporate market, that everything was done correctly. You didn't miss any regulations. Just trying to make it as smooth as possible transitioning and really bringing in the old systems of safety in a workplace or the old systems for like payroll or anything like that into kind of a market that had never really seen that before and just make everyone's lives easier. I think the government of Canada has done a great job of trying to get everything up and going. I'm so glad we've kind of come to a point where we're working through kinks and now we're seeing some true benefit from it.
And now, to contrast with some of those rough experiences driving up and into the mountains, tell us one of the best experiences you've had working in this role.
I think I'm just gonna come back to the driving part of it. So
Sure thing.
it doesn't seem related, but I think it's very important. It's just going up with the team. So we'd all hop in my truck SUV, and we would just blast music going up to work and just talk about each other's lives. And then we get there and crush out a whole day together, which was absolutely not stressful. And we would do what we had to do. And then on the way home, we would just be so proud of the job we did and the things we learned. And you really bounce off each other, really reflects for each other when you have a great day at work and where these operations.
Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like there's a real camaraderie in the team, and then that really, really feeds on each other.
Absolutely.
Cool. Right on. Now, what is one thing that your business venture did that you didn't expect? Something that when you started out, something it took a turn or did something different that you totally didn't expect to happen.
You know, something that I really learned from this whole thing where it kind of was more about community support than anything. And that came to say for my workers as well as the farmers that we dealt with. I didn't realize that was a big major part of it was from the support side. And especially in the past years, COVID and with the unpredictability of the cannabis market, um, that example, mental health support or just kind of being there and just showing that you're there for a lot of these growers who are struggling, for a lot of the workers who are struggling. I think that became a big foundation of what I actually do is just trying to lead and support everyone around her.
Wow, that's cool. That's really interesting. And you brought up an interesting point there that leads me into one of my other questions is how did the COVID-19 pandemic affect your work?
Well, business boomed during COVID, which was great, but also it's hard to take down a crop when you have such limited people on a job site or can only have, say, 10 workers at a time. Cannabis is an essential service. Crops don't stop growing for anybody. But there was one time where, everybody on my team got sick and I actually started, pairing with some of my competitors to try and just help make things work and take down some of these crops. but it definitely also affected the price of cannabis, which put a lot of strain on the system. Prices, uh, prices plummeted because the market was all of a sudden flooding with a bunch of cannabis that couldn't get really exported during COVID. So it was a very big struggle of it being really, really, really busy and then the prices going down. So the farmers struggling a bit. And now we're finally coming back from COVID. And not only that, post legalization, with the prices also dropping, lots of large scale producers coming to the market. A lot of smaller scale producers were getting kind of eliminated. So I think just really trying to establish a good system and a good team was very beneficial.
Wow. Yeah. When you first said that, the cannabis industry boomed at first, I thought you were going to tell me that there was a windfall, but then describing the glut on the market because it couldn't get out to anywhere else. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So, what is a common myth about your job or your field of expertise? I'm certain there's quite a few, being that there's always a lot of different myths about marijuana in general.
I think a lot of people think that they have to know anything to get involved, which you don't. There is a lot of new developments happening every day. It's continuously uh, a lot of continuous improvement. So I really encourage anyone who wants to give it a try to just get in there and get their hands dirty. A lot of myths, maybe I'm trying to think of another myth that would let me come back to that one. I might think of
Sure.
some reason ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, let's see here. Um, this is always a fun one. How would your parents describe what you do?
Well, so my mom lives in the southern US where cannabis is not legal. And she was very much against cannabis for a lot of my childhood. And, I kind of, I'm going to regret saying this story if she listens, but I don't care. Is that I remember in front of the family, mom was like, how am I supposed to tell people my daughter grows weed? And I was just like, well, mom, have you ever seen a cannabis plant before? And my mom is a strict nurse. She helped create the curriculum for nursing and kind of more straight edge, she never smoked in her life. And yeah, when I asked her, I was like, have you seen a cannabis plant before? She's like, no. And I was like, well, cousin Josh has a grow up out back. Do you want to go get educated? And she's like, you know what? I actually do. And so I brought my mom out back to cousin Josh's grow up. They brought her to one of the rooms. I was like, Mom, smell this. So she goes up to one of the plants and she smells it. And she's like, oh, wow, that smells like lemon. And she's like, I thought it was supposed to smell like skunk. And I told her, I was like, well, lemons are the daytime medication and skunk is the nighttime medication, usually, and I went and showed her how all the plants are grown and like, and the importance of, you know, um, the way we smoke it versus eating it. There was a pipe going around with one of my favorite strains in it, and um, I was like, "Mom, have you ever tried cannabis before?" And she's like, "No, I haven't." I was like, "Well, it's one of my favorite." And she's like, "Well, I'm not much of a smoker." And I was like, "Smoking, smoking is great for beginners because you can really control your dosage and how you feel when you consume cannabis. I highly recommend if you've ever wanted to try it, that you try it through smoking. It affects you instantly and it'll last about an hour maximum. Okay. And versus eating it, which takes about a half hour or so to kick in, but can last quite a few hours. And she tried it the first time and I was freaking out inside. I called my sister immediately. I was like, Mom just smoked weed for the first time. They just showed her, cousin Josh's girl for the first time, and she's like, "No way." And then after that, my mom just really kind of understood a lot more about it, and then she started going to the massage therapist, and they started actually giving her CBD and THC actually for her muscle stuff as well. And now, anytime anyone brings it up, she's very happy to say that her daughter grows.
Oh, wow. That is so great. That's what a great example of the way that your education, the education part of your business can change someone's mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. So does she recommend, I guess she might not be working still as a nurse anymore?
No, she doesn't work as a nurse. She kind of took a side thing more into like insurance nursing, so people with long term disability.
I see. And now is cannabis still illegal in the state she lives in?
It is still illegal in the state she lives in. She always
Okay.
wants me to come down. She's like, "Come live with me for a little bit." I was like, "Mom, cannabis isn't legal where you are. It's hard for me to do work there."
Exactly. Well, I was curious if maybe she would be open to starting to recommend that to some of her patients, but it's probably a little bit taboo being that it's still illegal in that state.
It is, but it is I think it's something we gotta talk about more, and it's becoming more widely known where we can open up the conversation. That's my favorite part about working in it because people immediately can ask questions and feel a comfortable place to ask questions. So I do say to anybody who has any questions about cannabis anytime, to please reach out. I would love to try and help answer.
Brad, what's one of the most common questions that you get when people find out that you're a cannabis consultant?
I think what's one of the people are just like, what's going on? Or are you hiring? It's and I'm like, yeah, it's always please hit me up with my email. I always have an on call list, especially in the area. Or they're just looking for some information. Just to, either even asking for a friend, say, hey, my grandpa is has some issues right now. What would you recommend for him? And obviously I could never legally give any medical advice, but I could recommend products or even a retailer near them that can help answer questions as well.
Wow. So why is it, being that your background is a nurse, that you can't offer them medical advice?
I just think everyone's body is different
Mhm.
and everyone's have a different reaction. So I would never want to say, oh, this will help you with your sleep. And then for you, it's the opposite and it keeps you a little bit awake. And then I don't think that's very fair.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, the effects can vary a lot from person to person then?
Yeah. It's definitely very experimental thing. So every animal in the world
Mm.
has an endocannabinoid system. And this is developed with us over the years that we're actually made to absorb cannabinoids like THC and CBD, like that. And this affects our neurological system, our immune system, everything about our. Everyone is different, and every plant strain is different. So when I was doing a lot of working in the cannabis clinic, there's matching people up with something that would kind of suit them as close as possible. So example, if you don't want if you want some pain relief or to go to sleep, but you don't want to feel high at all, no cycle activity, then higher in CBD. I'd really recommend. Um, just like if you need something that gives you energy for during the daytime, but you want to feel clear as well. Maybe recommending something more sativa dominant, or if you have anxiety, recommending something like an indica that is been known to reduce anxiety. Doesn't mean it'll be the exact for you, but most of the time, if you try and sample something that's low and a low dosage, um, when you get home, just to try it out, you find that people have quite similar effects off the different strains of cannabis. So, you can really get a taste for what you like out of all the products that can be made.
Wow. So you mentioned that everyone, like every animal, has an endocannabinoid system. Does
Yeah.
that mean that we get cannabinoids from other places other than cannabis?
Actually, no, we don't. I
Oh,
don't
wow.
believe so anyways. Not that I've read. So again,
Okay.
I can't like confirm nor
Yes.
deny, but I believe we just get it from the cannabis plant itself.
Wow. That's really cool. Wow. So you mentioned the different strains as well. And you also mentioned a little bit earlier when you were talking about your mom that you had a favorite strain. Can you tell me a little bit about that strain and what it does for you?
Okay, so my favorite strain is Girl Scout cookie. It is a hybrid. It is beautiful. I'll never forget the first time I had that strain because it made me giggle like a schoolgirl. And it really helped me in a lot of stress relief and clarity and gave me a lot of energy as well. I think for that was something I really appreciate about cannabis. I needed two things. One was something to help me sleep at the nighttime. So any sort of kush was really good for that for me. But something for during the daytime that would keep me energetic and focused on something where I'm not done down. That was what I felt Girl Scout cookie works for me. Yeah, so I'd highly recommend that strain to anybody.
And does it taste like chocolate and mint?
No, it doesn't. I wish it does, but I definitely ate all the cookies after.
Oh, fantastic. Well, let's see. I'm just sliding through my questions here. Um, see. Yes. And what's a piece of advice that you would give to someone wanting to start out in cannabis? I know you mentioned just to get in there and get your hands dirty, but is there anything else you might let them know about before they got started?
I think just before you get started, I think this is a booming industry that you want to be on the surfboard of this tidal wave. Something I tell a lot of my staff when they first start working with me, I actually show them a cannabis legalization map of the world. And on this cannabis legalization map, it shows you the countries that are fully legal recreationally, medically, and not legal at all. But especially in Canada, it's bright blue that we're legal. And when I say to them, I was like, one day you may be sweeping a floor or, working, say, at a trim machine or, doing a job that you wouldn't necessarily see as glamorous, maybe in a field or something like that. But I say, we're not just setting the bar for here in British Columbia or Canada, we're actually setting the stage for the rest of the world and how it's going to be doing its cannabis production. And it's going to be looking at Canada for all this knowledge of the system, and we're gonna go and we're gonna be setting the stage really high. And I think what everyone does is really important. You aren't just a number. You mean something to this industry, and if you keep at it, there is a huge road of success, especially if you're young and especially if you're a yes person. I'd highly recommend, yeah, trying a career in cannabis.
Fantastic. That's awesome. So if people want to find you, where can they find you?
They could find me. So I'm based out of British Columbia. I also work in the States as well. But if you guys ever have any questions or anything like that, you can contact me by my email, cropqueenconsulting@gmail.com.
Excellent. Right on. Do you have any Instagram or social handles that you'd like me to put into our notes here as well?
Yeah, so on Facebook, I have Crop Queen Consulting, which goes direct to me. I also put links of cool information about cannabis, either medically or for growers. So if you just would like to browse some really cool sources, or I also love recommendations of different questions or sources that or information that you're looking for. Um, Instagram, I'm just getting it going, so just give me a little bit on that. But Facebook and email for sure, get a hold of me.
Absolutely. Right on. Well, thank you so much for your time, Ash. This has been a really great conversation.
I really appreciate it too. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.